Welcome to another episode of Foster's Bees. As you can probably tell right off the bat, there's something different here. During the week I put this piece of press board, or I forget the exact name of it, but I put it on here in an effort to give a little bit of shade to this side of the hive here, and we will see how effective it was. The whole rationale behind that was to give a little bit more shade to this side of the hive in an effort to try to cool it down, and the hope is that that will allow the bees to draw out the combs on this side just a little bit better. So let's see how it worked. I also took a little bit more time to get my smoker started this time, and seems to be working quite nicely. So we'll take a look and see what's going on in the front of the hive here with bees. I've taken the entrance reducer off. Not seeing a lot of activity here right now, but we'll go ahead and puff a few puffs of smoke into the hive here. One of the things I'm curious to see this inspection, I had added another brood box on top, and with this brood box the frames did not have any foundation. So we'll see how that has worked. Fortunately today we don't have a lot of wind, so that will hopefully make things a little more manageable today, and hopefully not as much wind noise. As you may remember, the previous inspection, I also put a bunch of cinnamon on the ground to try to discourage the ants. And so far I haven't seen any major ant activity other than the one large ant on my hand here just a little bit ago. Let's take a look, see what's going on with this brood box that we added. This frame seems to be stuck. And that's why. Some bridging comb here. We'll try to get that cleaned up a little later on. And here you can see they've already started drawing out on this frame here. This bit looks a little crooked, but I'm going to wait until they get it a little bit more drawn out before I go ahead and try and correct or straighten it out any. Full of bees and brood. Don't know if you can see the grubs inside there. There's the queen. That's good to see that she's moved up into the second brood box. There's some beautifully freshly drawn comb. It looks like they are using these comb guides that I improvised using Ace Hardware stirrer sticks. More brood and honey or nectar around the edges. Some more comb. You can see over here how they're already starting to cap off the honey. This frame is heavy. They're really drawing deep cells here and filling them full of honey. And you can see just from pulling this frame out, they had attached it to the next frame right along here, and it actually broke some of the wax, and you can see the bees lapping up the honey. Probably, my guess is in an attempt to relocate it somewhere. Some brood down here. They haven't fully drawn out this frame on this side here. This side, mostly drawn out. And this frame, yeah. Again, this is the third frame from the end on the west side. And that's all the honeycomb they've drawn on it. And that was more to connect it to the previous frame. So I'll let the bees maybe lap up a little bit of that honey off of that. I'm going to set it aside. I've already seen my queen. I know where my queen is. I don't need to worry about my queen being left outside of the hive here. The next two frames, nothing on that. And this one again, nothing there. So I'd be curious if any of you guys have any thoughts on why the bees have tended to ignore the frames on the west side of the hive here. Whether that's just because of the warmth or the heat from the sun that comes later on in the day, or whether that's because of some other factors. I'd be curious to hear what your thoughts are. Okay, let's have a look here. Actually, before I get to this, I'm going to put this frame back in. And before I do that, I'm going to clean it up. Actually, I'll just set that frame over there for now. let's see what's going on with this frame here. I believe this was one of the incompletely drawn out frames that I'd brought over from the other side of the hive. And as you can see here, it's still not completely drawn out, but they're working on it. This side looks better. Still some foundation that can be used there. Not completely drawn out. Looks like they're storing a fair amount of pollen and bee bread here. Set this one down here. As you can see, I've got a fair amount of ants crawling on my pant legs here, so whatever they did, whatever the cinnamon did, it didn't quite do what I was hoping it would. Quite a bit of pollen in this one. And more brood on this side here. Look at that comb. Nice and straight. And you can see here how the bees are, I believe the word they use is festooning. And that's part of the technique they use to draw out the comb. I'm going to clean up a little bit of the comb here. And there you can really see the bees festooning or clinging in strings as they're stringing out the getting the comb started. Brood and alright, not a lot on this. Again, this is towards the west side of the hive. 4 frames actually. It's the 4th frame from the west. I find that interesting. Look inside there. Earwigs. Let's see if they're alive. Yep. They are alive. I wonder if the earwigs will eat the mites. I don't know. I have heard of some people putting in a natural, or at least an attempt for a natural floor of shavings and detritus below the screened bottom board in an attempt to grow things like earwigs. To help with hive ecology. Now, again, what's interesting, this is the east side of this frame, and this is the west side of the frame. This is in the third slot from the west end, and again, they're ignoring the west side. This frame looks like they've started to draw out here. They haven't filled it with anything, it doesn't appear. And here, looks like we do have some capped honey there. Not much. And this was one of the frames that I'd brought over from the other side of the hive. This is some bridging comb here between the two frames. And it looks like we got a few bees emerging. Right in the process of emerging. I wonder if this bee has died. It does not seem to react to me or move. The other two are moving, but this one does not seem to be moving. Well, we'll shove these frames back over again. Well, I find it interesting that the bees only try to do some bridging, connecting comb on this one end frame here. They're still ignoring this west side of the hive, even though I put a shade up. And that did not seem to change anything about whether or not they would draw that out. See if we can get this cleaned up. Before I do any more pushing frames around or anything, I'm going to put it on the lid here, so if any bees fall off, they get contained and don't end up on the ground. Because my queen is in this box. Alright, so set this down like this, and twist it on into position. And that's about it. Thank you for joining me. And be sure to click like and subscribe, particularly if you would like to be notified of any future upcoming episodes. Again, thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.